without huge reveals or major action, Oda always hits the spot. And this chapter is definitely one for the ages, which has me hyped beyond belief. Hello my Nakamatachi, this is Joy Girl with a discussion of chapter 1005, Demon Child. Starting with the cover story, which is another fan request where we see Katakuri in the seducing woods sharing a merienda with kittens and puppies. And I gotta say, seeing his way of devouring the donuts has me convinced that we all need face-sized snacks to enjoy. Anyways, onto the chapter itself. As you know, I usually drop questions about the little details of each chapter, but today I'm trying a new format where I review the big bulk of the chapter first, and then in the end mention little details that I noticed. I will still have some questions throughout the review, so please do stay around until the end and have a discussion with me. Chapter 1005 didn't pick up from the last panel in the previous chapter, so we're left to wait at least another week for the mystery silhouette to be revealed. So that's two that we're now waiting on, and I wonder which one will be revealed first. Anyways, the majority of this chapter happened on the 3rd floor, which is where Black Maria is holding Sanji and torturing the Straw Hat Chef. First thing we should get out of the way is the stuff I mentioned in the last chapter review about how I thought Robin was disguised as one of Black Maria's subordinates, and we found out in this chapter that that wasn't the case. We were given a name for that woman, who is referred to as Kaiman Lady, who is a Kaiman Smile Devil Fruit user, as we can see her lower body is that of a Kaiman, a reptile related to alligators. I hadn't ever heard of this animal before, so it's intriguing that Oda used such a specific type of crocodilian species and has me more interested in seeing her fight even if she isn't Robin. Black Maria continues to torture Sanji, this time putting on a couple of brass knuckles to continually attack him. This scene got me wondering why Black Maria would put on brass knuckles, which seems to be completely random. Makes you think what kind of other attacks she has. For a Tobiroppo, does she not have armament haki, which is why she needed the brass knuckles? But then why not use her other abilities? Are her abilities attacks that aren't built for torture? Are they more suited for instant kills? The only ability of hers that we've seen so far is her use of webs, and in this chapter we also saw her pull out a pole arm which has a Wanyudo figure at the end. In Japanese mythology, a Wanyudo is a yokai most famous in Kyoto. It is said that the Wanyudo takes all the pain that his flaming wheel puts on him and releases it on others, more so on evil souls. The yokai is also known for hunting down his victims and ripping their limbs off. Even one look from the Wanyudo can harm you. There is a famous story about the Wanyudo rolling through town, and a woman peeked through her window to take a glimpse of the yokai. And the Wanyudo told her, "Instead of looking at me, why don't you look at your own child?" To which the mother did, only to find her child lying in a pool of blood with his legs missing. And then when the mother looked back at the Wanyudo, only to witness the yokai eating her baby's legs. Yikes. So that typical victim of the Wanyudos fits the character of Robin as the devil child whose very existence is considered to be a sin. Robin can always sprout multiple limbs, which Black Maria and the Wanyudo will probably try to rip apart. So this is a great callback to the last chapter when Black Maria mentioned to Sanji that she wants to rip apart Robin's limbs, which I did think was a very specific threat last week, and now we get the reference. But for now, let's go back to Black Maria's use of brass knuckles to torture Sanji, as I love where this chapter went with this one. Sanji mentioned in this chapter that his armament haki is going soft because he doesn't want to hurt a lady's fist as she hits him, so we know that Sanji is taking this attack without much resistance. I love that Oda didn't go with the cliche on this one by having Sanji play the role of the protector, as many people who like Black Maria's subordinates were probably expecting, and instead actually used Sanji's character, which elicited a funny reaction from those watching. Sanji calling out for help, I thought was beautifully done. This one scene sets up a number of things and in my opinion gave us so much. It shows Sanji not only trusting his crew, but it's perfect that he's trusting a woman to save his life. This takes me back to Enies Lobby, Punk Hazard and Whole Cake Island. In Enies Lobby, Sanji gave Usopp that speech about each of them helping the other when it comes to things that they themselves can't do. And here, Sanji, physically not being able to hit a woman, asked Robin for help, which is a great showing of character growth from always seeing women as those who need to be protected. Time and time again, Sanji is always coming to the rescue of damsels in distress, and it's nice to see the role reversed here, and I can't think of anyone else better to do this scene than Sanji. it was also reminiscent of the I Want to Live scene by Robin. This time, Sanji choosing to trust the Straw Hat archaeologist. And we know Sanji wouldn't put any woman in danger, which means that he called out for her because he has faith in Robin's abilities. Everyone who knows Sanji, including the Straw Hats, realized that he must only need help because he's fighting a woman, which adds to Oda's presentation of the trust and closeness between the Straw Hats in this chapter. The fact that there isn't any judgment from the crew because by now they understand and respect his code, in contrast to the snide remarks from others, clearly establish the nature of the Straw Hat crew. It also reminds me of Whole Cake Island because we know that Sanji is always doing these self-sacrificial things. We've seen it a number of times throughout the series, but was more evident in Whole Cake Island. He wanted to handle things himself until Luffy convinced him that the crew is always there for him, and you can see him trusting them in this chapter. Whole Cake Island keeps paying off for Sanji's character. And then it reminded me of Punk Hazard because it was Sanji who first brought Kinemon with them and said that he will take responsibility. You could argue that if it wasn't for that scene, we wouldn't have the Wano arc. And in Sanji asking Robin for help so that he can go rescue Kinemon, which will become a much more dangerous area now that King has told the other beast pirates that the scabbards are there, and this was shown to us straight away as we see Jack making his way to where the scabbards are. So Sanji is taking responsibility for Kinemon's life to face off a much stronger opponent than the one he left to his crewmate, but one he himself is unable to fight. And thanks to Sanji's call for help, the Alliance members become aware of the existence of the Marys, and we too get an explanation of this technology. Fighting a woman on top of being afraid of spiders, big character moment for Sanji this chapter. Crying Sanji isn't sad. The only sad part is that he missed out on some topless Black Maria action, which is probably for the best because otherwise he would have died of blood loss. Whilst we see character growth, we also see Sanji saying that he will always want to love all the ladies. And I guess some things might improve, but some things will never change. Moving on, when I saw Jack, whose broken tusk has now been stitched up, making his way to deal with the scabbards and Sanji also making his way there, it seems that we're being set up for these two to fight, but a part of me can't stop thinking that this may be just the misdirection from Oda. I think Sanji will make his way to see the scabbards and possibly will have a brief clash against Jack, but I don't see this dragging on very long. I think the fact that Queen is the only calamity we didn't see this chapter is part of this misdirection. I think either Queen stops Sanji reaching his destination, or he appears later to deal with Sanji. Who I see Jack fighting at this point is actually Yamato. I think where we are currently at, this is the fight that fits the most. I mentioned before that Yamato and Jack being the same age is likely more than a coincidence. I think there is some history there that we can explore. Perhaps they were childhood friends raised as siblings by Kaido. Also the fact that Yamato is currently with Momonosuke and Shinobu seems to point out that they will end up where the scabbards are, and the mischief figure who can only be Toki or Hiyori will end up with a big reunion. Jack will also be there, so having Yamato vs Jack achieves a number of things. It can also be the moment where all of the scabbards acknowledge Yamato and maybe even see Oden's will through him. It's just too perfect of a setup at this point for this not to play out. I also like that the scabbards got a much needed hype in the form of Jack telling Black Maria that even at Door's death, the scabbards are not to be taken lightly and a Tobiroppo will not be enough. Which I think is really needed after their decimation at the hands of Kaido. It achieves a couple of things on top of hyping up the scabbards, in that it also highlights just how strong Kaido is in being able to take on all of them, and it adds even more hype to the supernovas up on the roof, who are doing a much better job than the scabbards in dealing with Kaido. Now, let's talk about the real MVP of this chapter. Actually, let's acknowledge Brook doing a good job first because I'm about to fangirl about Robin. Firstly, I have to mention the callback to Thriller Bark when Brook saved Robin from Tararan, the giant zombie spider back in Thriller Bark. We've seen that this web is pretty much useless in the presence of Brook, who seems to be set up to face Black Maria's subordinates. At least in the meantime until we find an opponent for him, because we talk about Robin not getting fights often, but you could also argue that Brook is due for a good fight. Also, I'm loving Brook's new outfit. Actually, both have an experience with spiders because on top of Thriller Bark, Robin also shared a cover page with the spider in chapter 943. Enough with the callbacks, let's talk about this chapter. Wow. Just wow. I love everything Robin in this chapter. I actually forgot about the last two silhouettes we're waiting on. Robin coming to Sanji's rescue got me hyped, and I love the choice to dedicate a double spread to her entrance. I was wondering how Robin would actually arrive here, and what I got is a very satisfying answer. I love the giant spank out of nowhere where you can only see Robin's arm before she was actually revealed, which is a great mix of stealth and surprise. It's just really well done in my opinion. Topped off by her line when asked Black Maria how she made it inside, "I can bloom anywhere," a reference to the flower-themed part of her character. On top of being stealthy and surprising, Robin's duality is presented in this chapter in such a beautiful way. And this was achieved magnificently in my opinion. After her epic line that her demon self emerges when her friends are in danger, seeing the contrast of how she speaks to Black Maria, asking if those were her last words, to smoothly change to a completely different expression in thanking Sanji for trusting her is just perfect. Very, very well done. I think we were all Sanji at that point when this happened. I know I was. If I'm being completely honest, this chapter in my opinion did a better job in hyping me up for the coming chapters than the rooftop or even the last week's cliffhanger did. Sometimes it can be just as simple as highlighting a Straw Hat who is due for a much deserved screen time. And because of this, I think this was a wonderful chapter. Now, some details I noticed. Apu is back up, and in the same panel, we see Hyogoro, who seems to have returned to his fighting form from when he was younger. Heat also seems to be using his fighting stance, although it also seemed like he has his hands down as if he's summoning something, perhaps flames? And we found out the name of the eye masked figures / objects, which are called Marys, and I thought this was a great way that Oda used this to pan through Onigashima and show us some of the other stages of the war, particularly the Straw Hats. You can stick around to see my reaction to seeing Frankie again. But in particular, it was interesting that Oda gave the moment to Usopp, who noted that he has noticed the Marys before. Was this to suggest the development of Usopp's observation haki, which we saw back in Dressrosa? And with that, we are brought to the end of the chapter review. Please stick around to watch my reactions if you're interested. Please leave your thoughts and insight on this chapter by leaving a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. This is Joy Girl, and I'll see you again soon. Hello. Okay, so here we are with chapter 1005, Demon Child. Okay, so it seems like we're getting a Robin-centered chapter. Super excited. Are we going to see the Robin and Black Maria fight? You know how long I've been waiting for that. But before we get into the chapter, look at that. Look at Katakuri. Oh man. One of the puppies in the background sort of looks like a very young Inuarashi. So cute. Alright. Okay, so we're going back to the banquet hall, and it doesn't seem like we're getting an answer to who that mystery figure is, but we are going to see whether Robin and Black Maria are going to fight, it seems like. Oh, what intricate layers of webbing. What a handy power. I wonder how she's going to use it mid-battle. You know, like Spider-Man, like shoo. I'm excited to see that mid-battle. And oh, brass knuckles. Not on Sanji. Sanji can't fight back. Oh, Black Maria looks positively just gleeful. Just going at him, doesn't she? So evil. Oh, it actually seems to be working in Sanji's favor. Some of the women in Black Maria's crew were feeling sorry for him, sort of swooning at the fact that he hasn't given up and that he's not giving up Robin's location. It's funny. Oh, what's he gonna say? Help me, Robin! Wow. I love that. I absolutely love that. That's great. It says so much about both their characters, about, you know, sort of just the relationship between the two, his trust in her. Okay, so all the ladies who were in swoon just a couple of panels ago are now just gonna be like, what? Oh, okay, so we've got a whole host of those Bao Huang masked figures. The same woman from the last chapter with the dark hair, who I thought was Robin, but now it seems like she's not. Unless she's going to take off her mask and reveal herself to be Robin after all. But no, the way she's been portrayed here seems like she's one of the Beast Pirates. And so that's a cool way to broadcast everything that's happening over Onigashima. I wonder if that's going to come in use later as well. Okay, we've got Chopper working on his antidote still. Oh, okay, we've got the Mako and King fight. When are we gonna see it in full action? And then Jinbei still facing off against Who's Who. He's got his armament haki, Sabretooth. And yes! I know, it's just such a tiny panel, but anything that I get to see of Franky, oh, my heart. He's still holding off Sasaki, just holding him by his little horn. Oh, I love that. That's such a cool moment. Sanji's words as well. The level of trust, and he's saying he's sorry, he's asking her to save him. I love that sort of humility. And yeah, Nami's grasped the situation so well. The connection between all the Straw Hats. I'm loving this, I mean, we don't obviously get to see all of them, and we don't get to see all of them in such close detail, in much focus, but I'm loving the subtle ways that Oda's showing us their relationships with each other. You know, obviously Nami trusts that Sanji would only be calling for help if he wasn't capable of holding off an opponent on his own, and the only time he wouldn't be able to do that is when he's fighting a woman. So they know each other so well, and you know, there's no sort of shame in their limits, you know, what they're each able to do, what they're not able to do, sort of the morals and the code that they each stick by, the level of respect for that. It's great. And Usopp's figured it out. These eyes, sort of like Den Mushi. Someone's coming this way. Black Maria doesn't even seem worried, so she's been warned that that someone's coming, must be Robin, and she just goes, "That's quick." So it's pretty impressive, I guess, the way that Black Maria is being portrayed as well. You know, last chapter they said that she can go off to fight the Scabbards herself. You know, she's not shown fazed by Robin coming. Oh no, she's gonna turn Sanji into one of her little toys, into those pets. Classic Sanji. I want to love all the ladies. Can't be tied down like that. Oh. Yes! Yes! Speck! Oh, that is awesome. Right smack on her cheek. Wow. Taken down because of that one hit. Yes. See, and Sanji's words and Sanji's faith in Robin from the last chapter, you know, when he said, "Don't underestimate Nico Robin," is coming to bear truth in this chapter. She can bloom anywhere, she can enlarge her limbs. I mean, we know she can multiply her limbs. Oh, I can't wait for this matchup. Yes, oh, Sanji as well. Robin! Oh, I love that. Look at the focus on her eyes. Oh, just so cold. She's so furious, isn't she? It's so true to character. She's so calm, and yet you can really sense her fury in her words. If you mess with one of my friends, the demon part of me is going to come out. You know, the demon part of me starts to emerge. Oh, I love that. What a moment for Robin. That is so cool. I think this is getting me a lot more emotional. As some of you may know, I did a video recently about the relationships between the Straw Hats. But, you know, when I was getting to Robin's section, going through all of her past, going through her history, and then how she's evolved with the Straw Hats as part of the crew, that was one of my favorite things to write about. And so this is just perfect timing. Really takes me back, you know, to all of that. Everything that she's gone through, you know, being part of organizations where she didn't actually trust anyone. And, oh, what a moment for Robin. Oh, and yes, Brooks joined the fight as well. Okay, that's interesting. It's not how I pictured it. But yes, Brooks getting a moment as well. And he comes in handy, okay, obviously with Black Maria's webs. And then some bit of comedy there again. Classic Brook getting scared at Black Maria's crew, forgetting that he's of course a living skeleton. For some strange reason, I don't think I can win here, he says. I wonder what that strange reason is, Sanji, Oh, seems like Robin's getting into motion, she's getting into position. Oh, and then that wink. Oh, that's so sweet. I think I'm swooning. Look at you, see Sanji's just like, okay, I can go in peace now. Yep, and so now Yamato's holding one of the... Should I just keep calling it Bao Huang Denden Mushis? What's their name? The Bao Huang Denden Mushis in his hands. Oh, straight away we find out it's called a Mary. What an awesome timing. Having Yamato as an ally is super useful, isn't it? So we're going to find out a lot more about sort of how the Beast Pirates as an organization works. And look, oh, it looks like they've been discovered. Okay, so Momonosuke is gonna hide in Yamato's clothes. And we get some action from Yamato and Shinobu. Okay, still back on the 3rd floor, and Jack is back up. Didn't take him very long. Okay, that's interesting what he says about the samurai and about sort of Black Maria's comparative strength. Because that's something that I was wondering, you know, how strong is Black Maria for her to be sent as the only person to fight against all of the Scabbards? I mean, sure, they're down, and it seems like Jack's clarifying this. So it seems like we're going to get a continuation of the fight between Jack and the Scabbards who are at Zou, and, you know, knowing all of the history behind that, how Neko and Inu fought Jack whilst Raizo was kept hidden, taking me back to Zou. I still get chills every time I go back to that scene. But anyways, so it seems like we're going to get a continuation of this fight, which I was hoping for. Okay, so Sanji is probably going to beat himself for not sticking around if he finds out what happened after he left. Oh, what is that weapon of Black Maria's? That is cool. Seems like some sort of demon. Oh, classic. Okay, Brook's there. So Brook's gonna be in paradise as he fights. And I like the sort of interplay, sort of the exchange between Black Maria and Jack as well. Black Maria is sort of one of the only Tobiroppos who sort of stayed above the infighting between the Tobiroppos and the Calamities. But she's sort of getting her 2 pieces in now. How dare you say that about my power? I can handle the Scabbards all by myself plenty well, thank you very much. And she's challenging Robin. It seems like we're gonna see it soon, and that is exciting. What a great chapter. And we get to see Robin and Black Maria soon. That slap, and then we're gonna see all of it. Oh, I can't wait. And there's no break next week. Yes. Okay, all right, bye.